Hey guys, thanks for joining me here on another episode of Crossing the Line. We're going to take a look at this story from The Age. Victoria banning gas stoves from 2024. Now, if you're going to build a new home in Victoria by 2024, you will not be able to implement gas appliances in your home. We saw this coming with Daniel Andrews being a massive shill for the WEF and them forever marching forward their green and pro-green initiatives with zero emissions. Now, if you live in Victoria and you voted for Daniel Andrews, you have no one to blame but yourself. You are now going backwards as a country, as a state, as a society. You are actually harming yourselves by voting for that man. Now, if he continues to hold the reins of power, it's probably a bit too late for this to be changed now, because once it's been implemented, even whether he's there or not, it will still be put in place. Now, Australia only emits, I think, 1.3% of greenhouse CO2 emissions in the world, and we seem to be one of the major countries doing anything about CO2 emissions. China has a massive stake in it. We'll have a look here, CO2 emissions by the country. Where is Australia here? All right, we'll have a look. Canada, US, Russia, Japan, Iran, South Korea, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. Australia's down here behind Turkey. So 386 it says there. This is where China is, just up there, 11,680. So the score given there on this is emissions by country in 2023. China is miles ahead of the US. It's more than double the US, and we are sitting all the way down here below Germany, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. Indonesia puts out more than we do. Mexico, Turkey, and then us, Australia. We're just above Vietnam. That's insane that we have to be the country that's doing the most for climate change. I know we have a massive amount of resources here at home, including gas. We have a massive reserve of gas. I think we're like number 13 in the world for natural resources where it comes to natural gas, and we're banning the use of it here, but we will still export it to other countries like China, and then we actually end up buying it back off of countries like Japan and China and selling it again here. This is the insanity the government is putting forward, but we'll have a look at this story here from The Age. Energy experts are urging Victorians to take extra steps to accelerate the removal of gas heaters and cooktops from homes after the state announced a ban on gas connections to new homes. Switching 2 million homes in Victoria already connected to gas over to electricity will reduce the state's emission in the long term, but in the short term it will drive an increase in more homes that rely on the state's coal-fired power plants until renewable energy takes over. So that's stupid that you can't use gas, which is a massively cheaper option than coal-fired energy here in Australia, and they want you to use coal-fired energy over gas, and they're saying it's greener. It's stupid. If you were running off of solar, 100% solar, 100% renewable energy, I'd kind of see the argument they're making there, but even that hurts the environment. Energy Minister Lily D'Ambrosio, the Planning Minister Sonia Kilkenny, revealed on Friday that all new developments would be banned from connecting to gas from January 1st. The changes apply to all home subdivisions and knockdown rebuilds that require planning permit from that date. Under the plan, the new dwellings will have fitted with electric or induction stove cooktops instead of gas appliances. Solar or electric hot water systems will also have to be used instead of gas. The energy transmission experts say that the government will need programs to drive faster. Currently, even if the 270 dwellings were switched from gas to electricity every single day, it would take 20 years to remove all the gas connections in Victoria. Victoria is the biggest residential gas user in Australia, with homes typically using fossil fuel for cooking, heating, and other parts of the country. Gas is often only used for cooking because it's not cold anywhere else besides Victoria, pretty much, and Tasmania in Australia. Grattan Institute Climate Change of the Energy Program Director Tony Wood said that Friday announcement was just the first step. We've got 5 million households in Australia connected to gas, more than 2 million in Victoria. We've got to start now, he said. We need to provide the support programs. Plumbers and gas fitters have to be all on board with this. When you got gas hot water systems blows up, they replace it with an electric one. Professor of the Climate Change and Energy Policy, Australian National University, Frank Jotzo, said it was absolutely necessary for Victoria to accelerate the phase out of gas and meet its emission reduction target. It is usually for the governments very difficult to mandate the phasing out of existing appliances, he said. It's easier to intervene of what sort of new appliances are allowed to be installed. So, what's going to happen with the Australian gas barbecue? Are we going to get rid of gas barbecues as well? I know they've pretty much got rid of all LPG gas cars. You cannot, I know in my town, you cannot pretty much find gas to fill up a car anymore. They started phasing them out ages ago. We are going to be finding ourselves in a bit of a predicament. If the government wants to turn off your power, or even if it's just a blackout, say, because renewable energy can't keep up with the grid, can't keep up with all the new induction cooktops and Teslas getting charged, because it won't be able to accommodate those. So you're going to have blackouts. At least in a blackout, you can go and light the barbecue and cook yourself dinner. So we have gas where I am. We built our house. We designed it to have gas and a solar hot water with solar panels, because if the power goes out, which it does quite often where I live, we want to be able to cook food and, heat up some water and boil some water and make coffee or whatever you want to do. It's just one of the very basic things that you can do when you're designing your own home to cover yourself for those kind of emergencies. Now, you will not be able to do that if you lose power and you have an induction cooktop. You might have a barbecue, but they're looking at getting rid of them as well. What is their plan here? They want to be able to control the mass amount of people in Victoria here for now, and it'll be spreading across the country. They want to be able to control people with the flick of a switch. They cannot turn off your gas bottle. They don't have the ability just to press a button and turn off your gas unless you're connected to a mains gas line. But generally, we have bottles here in Australia that are connected to homes. They can't do that. They can stop you from buying a bottle, but a bottle could last up to 12 months in some houses. I think we go through a bottle every 6 months or something like that here. They want to be able to turn off your power whenever they want, which they can already, and which they do. They want to be able to control people, where they cook, how they heat their homes, what kind of CO2 they emit from their homes is basically what they want to stop. They want to be able to control you with a push of a button. And getting rid of gas appliances and getting rid of gas cooktops or hot water systems, that is just another way of them doing it. If you're connected to the grid and the government thinks that you've emitted enough CO2 for the day, they can just turn off your supply. We're seeing it all over the world now. There's some places in the States where you can sign up to an energy saving program. They sell it to you as an energy saving program. It says it could save you up to a couple $100 a year on your power bill. What they don't tell you in that, and they leave it in the fine print, is that the reason that's going to save you money is because if you're using too much power at peak times, they will just shut your power off. That's going to save you money because you won't be able to run anything. You won't be able to run an air conditioner. You won't be able to charge your phone. You won't be able to go online and complain, because if they shut your power off, you've got no option but to sit there in the dark with your thumb up your ass. The Associate Professor Joe Hurley from RMIT's Centre of Urban Research said exiting gas appliances were a big challenge for the government's committing to net zero, but he said he couldn't see the Victorian government banning or existing gas connections anytime soon. Well, he was fucking wrong, wasn't he? You might see a move to more mechanisms to discourage replacement of existing gas appliances with new gas appliances. That'll be the next step, Hurley said. He said the additional incentives to help households make the switch to electric should occur, but those policies will be carefully calibrated to ensure taxpayer funds aren't feeding middle-class welfare. The Victorian government last year removed the requirement for new homes to be connected to gas. On Friday, D'Ambrosio said banning it entirely would help reduce Victoria's emissions and eventually provide cost of living relief, given gas prices skyrocketed over the past year. There was a looming winter shortfall on the eastern seaboard. Other states may have shied away from dealing with this challenge. We haven't, D'Ambrosio said. The ACT last month passed a bill banning new gas stove network connections. They're doing it already. You don't even get to vote on it. You don't get to pick whether you have gas in your home now. If they control the way that you heat and cook and live in your home, they have you by the balls. They will be able to turn off the petrol pump. If you charge if everyone's going to have a Tesla or an electric car, if you've used too much CO2 that day, if you've produced too much CO2 that week, they will just be able to shut you down. And not having gas is just another nail in that coffin. That is what they're after. They don't care about emissions. If they honestly cared about emissions, we'd be going and trying to stop China polluting the world as much as they do. Like, everyone agrees we should not pollute the ecosystem, we should not waste power, we should not poison the atmosphere, but we need to be able to do it in a way where we can preserve human life and then obviously move to greener and better initiatives. But we shouldn't do it where it's detrimental to the people that are living. We are robbing our grandchildren of having an existence, a free existence. We are handing over our rights, our privileges, or so-called privileges, our God-given rights, I'd say. I'm not even religious, but I think they're inherent human rights, like freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to be able to cook and feed yourself and defend yourself. And we've given them all away here in Australia. We do not have any rights left. We are slowly losing everything. The government's trying to ban freedom of speech on the internet. They're trying to shut down anyone who disagrees with them. They are banning people from cooking, growing food at home. They are banning people from doing anything with their own land over in Western Australia. You have to go and get a permit to dig a hole now. They've banned people even using chainsaws in Victoria. You can't clear a fire trail, even if you're with the Rural Fire Service, in Victoria with a chainsaw. You're not allowed to do that anymore because of this zero emissions bullshit that they keep pushing. This agenda has got nothing to do with stopping greenhouse gases, because if it did, we wouldn't be doing it here at home. We'd be trying to implement that kind of thing in China. If we're going to stop greenhouse gas emissions, the thing we need to do is enhance our technology in that sector. We need to make better batteries so we can keep the charge that we make during the day here in Australia from solar panels. We need to be able to capture CO2 from the atmosphere and turn it into things like graphene, and we need to be able to move our technology along, making the world a better place. And that's how we have done everything. We're not using steam engines anymore. We're now using electrical turbines. Our progression down the industrial line of technology gets cleaner and cleaner as we go along. If they truly wanted to stop greenhouse gas emissions, they would stop the ban on nuclear power we have here in Australia. We're not allowed to build a nuclear power plant here in Australia by law. If they really want to stop the damage to the environment, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be building new nuclear power stations. But they will not do that, because that is not where their hip pocket gets filled with cash. That's not where they can make money off. They're making money off selling our products to China, who uses them and then produces greenhouse gas emissions with our gas and not letting us use it here at home. The Victorian government estimates the change will save residents up to $1,000 on their annual energy bills. D'Ambrosio said the government modelling used to calculate that figures was supported by a recent Grattan Institute report. Wood, who authorised the report, said they expected Victorians to save money, but she said it would remain seen if the government's $1,000 claim stacked up. It depends on what your appliances are, what your choices you are facing, she said, but there's no question consumers are going to save money. It's probably only now a matter of how much. Bullshit. If they're going to say that you're going to save $1,000, they're going to have to drop power prices. But if everyone in Victoria just jumped onto the grid with no more gas products, no more gas appliances, and they just use induction cooking, the price of power would skyrocket overnight. And that's where they're lying. They're saying that you're going to save money. First of all, you're going to have to pull out the gas system from your home, buy a new induction cooker or a new hot water system and that. So that's going to cost you a lot of money right there. And they're not cheap. Power prices have never been higher than they are now. And we are apparently going to save money by not using gas? Bullshit. He also pointed out that Victoria's electricity grid was still largely dominated by coal. So it means if you switch from gas to electricity today, on the medium term, you're not going to improve Victoria's emissions. But in the next few years, you will. Under Victoria's plan, new government buildings such as hospitals, schools and police stations will only be powered by electricity. Well, duh. The announcement comes a day after the state government tabled its overdue response to renewable energy inquiry held during the last term of Parliament. The inquiry, which handed down its own recommendations on May 2022, suggested the government consider enacting a moratorium on new residential gas connections. In its reply, which was due in September last year, the government said it supported the recommendation in principle. The gas sector contributes to 17% of Victoria's emissions, and the Energy Minister said gas burns from new homes was a key part of the government plan to reduce Victoria's emissions by 75 to 80% by 2035 and reach net zero by 2045. That's not going to happen. Net zero. You are not going to have net zero. You can still have... People can't just go and throw out their petrol or diesel cars. You do not have enough infrastructure in the country to charge electric cars. Electric cars cause emissions. How do you think they're built? Do you just think they're built by like a fairy clicking their heels together? This is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, and gas will still be a feature of residential living for a number of years to come, D'Ambrosio said. The government will spend $10 million in new residential electrification grant program for volume builders, developers and others to provide rebates for solar panels, solar hot water and heat pumps to new home buyers. Another $1 million will be spent on training program to help the construction industry adapt to new renewable energy requirements in homes. The planning minister said that the gas-connected home was knocked down and rebuilt. The new home could not stay connected to gas if planning permit was required for the rebuild. Deputy Leader of the Greens, Victoria, Ellen Sandel, said the party had been calling for a ban on new gas connections for years, but it is strange that the Labor acknowledges gas is an expensive polluting fossil fuel on the one hand, while on the other hand it's changing the law to make it easier to open new mines and is approving new gas drilling across the state, including near the 12 Apostles, she said. So they're not letting us use our own natural resources here in this country, and they're selling them off to China because Daniel Andrews loves China. He's buddy with Xi Jinping. Winnie the Pooh. He's basically a blue-collared communist here in Australia. Master Builders Victoria Chief Executive Michelle Lehau supported the decision to move away from gas. Creating a pathway to a cleaner and more sustainable future is a big part of our vision for Victoria building construction industry, Lehau said. The Property Council's National Policy Director Frankie Muscovic said that the announcement provided certainty. Every new building was built with gas will need to be retrofitted in the future, so we welcome this move forward from Victorian Government to avoid investment in the new gas network infrastructure and focus on reducing energy bills and providing cleaner, healthier homes for Victorians, she said. If you want to lower energy bills, if you want to reduce costs of energy here in Australia, stop selling all of our natural resources overseas and then buying them back at a massively inflated rate. The Shadow Treasurer Brad Roswell described Friday's announcement as desperate policy on the run. We do not need an orderly energy transition from our current circumstance to the ways of the future, he said. I don't think that is a decision today will lead to a natural lower energy prices. I think this is a furphy of the minister, and I think the Victorians are not mugs. They will recognise that as well. No, Victorians are mugs. If you live in Victoria and you've been voting for Daniel Andrews for the last how many years now, even after all the draconian things he did during COVID, you deserve what you get. The Australian Petroleum Production and Exploration Society Association, which represents oil and gas industry, said the state government was removing consumer choice for the climate benefit. The best way to avoid shortfalls and put downward pressure on prices is to bring new gas supply close to where it is used, because the cheapest gas is the gas closest to the customer, Chief Executive Samantha McCulloch said. Completely true. If you're using your own gas and buying it off of the Australian company, that money stays here in Australia. But if we sell our gas to China and then buy it back off them for more than we sold it to them, which is, I don't know why we're doing that, none of the money stays here. All the money goes over there and we're paying more out of pocket, and power prices increase. It's not hard to understand. We need to ensure policy is based on robust evidence-based analysis that recognises the importance of gas in supporting the transition of our energy system to net zero. Victoria will release an updated gas substitution roadmap later this year. If Victoria couldn't get any worse, it already has. It's too late. They need to be, I kept saying it, they need to be sawn off, pushed out into the sea, and let Tasmania and let them guys deal with it. If you are in Victoria and you're wondering how you're going to pay for a power bill in the next 12 to 18 months, I'm not surprised. You guys voted for it. You guys are getting what you want. You keep putting Greens policies ahead of common sense. I don't get it. But this is just another way for the government to control what you do and how you do it. If they can turn off your power, they control it. Get off the grid, move out of the cities, build your own farm, homestead thing. They'll probably call you a doomsday prepper or a wacky nut conspiracy theorist or something like that. Go and get on, if they really want to help, go and get on solar panels. Get off the grid, get your own battery backup so the government cannot control what you do because of climate change, because someone else in a different country makes up rules that we have to follow. What do you guys think anyway? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in another episode. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.